From the moment the sun rose that cold winter morning, nothing seemed unusual, until two police dogs suddenly froze in the middle of their routine patrol, their ears lifting, their bodies stiffening as if the earth itself whispered a warning. The forest edge behind Ridgewood Park was normally quiet, but that day a faint whimper drifted through the trees. It was so soft, so fragile, that even the wind seemed to hold its breath. The K9 partners, Rex and Shadow, reacted instantly. Their instincts ignited like sparks in the dark, pushing them forward with an urgency no human could have understood. Within seconds, they broke from their officers and sprinted toward the sound that would soon shake an entire town to its core. If you believe kindness, courage, and second chances still matter in this world, please like, comment, share, and subscribe right now. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts. As the dogs charged deeper into the wooded trail, the sound grew clearer, small, uneven breaths, the faint rustle of fabric, and a trembling cry that seemed to shatter the silence. Rex barked sharply, signaling distress, while Shadow ran ahead, nose low, tail rigid. The officers, Detective Harris and Officer Leaner, raced behind them, unsure what they were about to find. The forest opened into a narrow clearing, and there, against the base of an old oak tree, lay something that didn't belong. It was a little girl. She couldn't have been older than 7. Her wrists were tied together with coarse rope, her hair tangled, her cheeks streaked with dirt and dried tears. Her small body shivered uncontrollably, and her wide eyes blinked at the sight of the dogs rushing toward her. But the most heartbreaking thing was the look on her face, not fear, but relief, as if she had been waiting, hoping, begging for someone to find her before it was too late. Rex gently nudged her shoulder, while Shadow positioned himself protectively at her side, calming her with slow, steady breaths. The officers arrived moments later, stunned into silence by what lay before them. Their training told them to act quickly, but their hearts stumbled. No child should ever have been left like this. Officer Lena cut the ropes carefully while Detective Harris scanned the surroundings, piecing together details with the sharpness that only comes from years on the job. But there were no footprints, no obvious clues. Nothing except the trembling of a child who had somehow survived the night alone. Once freed, the girl clung tightly to Shadow's neck, burying her face in his fur as if he were the only safe place left in the world. Her voice was barely audible when she whispered her name, Maya. She didn't remember how she got there, only that a bad man had taken her from the street the evening before. The officers exchanged tense looks, knowing every second mattered in cases like this. But more surprising, more shocking than the discovery itself, was what happened as the girl was taken to safety. At the station, something unexpected unfolded. Maya spoke very little to the adults, but to the two police dogs she opened her heart like a blooming flower. As soon as she saw Rex and Shadow again, her tears stopped and her shaking faded. She reached out with small, trembling fingers and touched their faces gently, as if thanking them for finding her when the world had forgotten. Rex lay beside her feet, his quiet presence grounding her, while Shadow rested his head in her lap, allowing her to stroke the fur between his ears. The officers watched in quiet awe. It was as though the dogs had become her voice, her courage, and her safe place all at once. Slowly, Maya began to share pieces of the nightmare she had lived through. She described how she had been walking home from school when a stranger grabbed her, blindfolded her, and drove her somewhere dark. She couldn't see anything, but she remembered the sound of dry leaves, the smell of damp earth, and the rough bark of the tree she had been tied against. She remembered crying until her voice faded, calling for help even when she thought no one would hear her. But then, she said softly, she heard something else, two barks echoing through the forest, strong and sure, like promises cutting through the darkness. The officers immediately launched a full investigation. Patrols doubled, drones scanned the woods, and nearby towns were alerted. But what nobody expected was that Rex and Shadow would lead the break through themselves. Every time the officers brought Maya near the forest edge for evidence reconstruction, the dogs behaved strangely. Rex pulled toward the north trail, while Shadow repeatedly circled a patch of disturbed soil. At first, the officers thought it was nothing, but after the third attempt, they followed the dogs more carefully. There, behind a tangle of bushes, they found clues everyone else had missed: torn fabric, boot prints, and a piece of a broken flashlight. It confirmed Maya's story and revealed that her kidnapper had planned to return. The discovery shocked the investigation team, and suddenly, the rescue wasn't just a miracle. It was a race against time. Days passed with intense searching, but Maya stayed at the station, refusing to leave the side of her canine heroes. She didn't want toys or snacks or cartoons. She wanted Rex and Shadow. She slept with her small fingers buried in their fur, breathed easier when they guarded her door, and only ate when they gently nudged her hand. For a child who had survived something unimaginable, they became the anchor she desperately needed, and in return the dogs changed too. Shadow, usually stern and focused, grew softer around Maya, watching her with protective eyes. Rex, known for his strength and discipline, became almost gentle, allowing her to stroke the scars on his paws. Scars from past rescues that Maya traced as if memorizing stories she didn't yet understand. Then, one evening, everything shifted. The surveillance team found a match for the footprints. The suspect had been seen wandering near the industrial district. The officers prepared for the arrest, but Rex and Shadow sensed Maya's fear before she even spoke it. She looked up at them with eyes still haunted and whispered, "Don't let him take me again." Shadow placed his paw gently on her knee, calming her shaking. Rex stood tall and still, as if promising protection without needing a single word. The arrest operation was intense but swift. The suspect resisted, but the evidence was overwhelming. When the officers returned with him in custody, the first thing he saw at the station were the two dogs standing like sentinels outside Maya's room. And for the first time, the man who had frightened an entire community looked afraid. What happened next shocked everyone. Maya stepped out, holding Rex's collar with one hand and Shadow's with the other. She looked at the man who had stolen her innocence, then looked down at her dogs, drawing strength from their presence. Her silence, her bravery, and the animals who stood like her guardians turned the station still. The officers felt it, the shift, the closure, the beginning of healing.